All right, gentlemen, we are now joined alongside by head coach of the Marquette men's soccer team, Louis Bennett. Coach Bennett, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, first half here in Milwaukee, it's a 0-0 tie. What's your first half assessment on both these teams here tonight in Milwaukee so far?
Well, it looks like a typical first round of an NCAA. You know, there's a little bit of, I think both teams were a little tentative to start with, but then obviously Toledo are a little bit more direct, and it's up and down. And I think, you know, if we could have put a goal in earlier, I think the game may have opened up a little bit. But the longer it goes, I think the more inspired a team like Toledo gets. And we have to be careful, you know. I think the first 20 minutes of the second half will be crucial.
You know, well, let's talk about your team, Coach. Lost in the Big East quarterfinals, and now wait on the waiting period. What have you done so far at this point, waiting to see what's going to happen for your future in the NCAA tournament, or going on and thinking about what your team needs to do?
Well, we've taken care of the team first and foremost, and we've got them in the right mindset. We gave them a couple of days off, and then we went right back to training, because when things are out of your control, we have to control our controllables. And what we can do is to train, is to be ready, is to be focused. So that's the first thing we did. The coaching staff then did all the math on the RPI, and you know, we feel when we've had a full squad, we've got a fantastic RPI. If you take away the first 4 games, maybe 5 games, where we didn't have a full, you know, the full roster available to us. We didn't have Malice and Alfano, and then when they did come back, they weren't fit. We had to play them out of position. I know it sounds like an excuse, but you've got to take that in consideration. With a full squad, we won, I think out of the 14 games, we won 9 games, and then only lost games to teams inside that 48 RPI. And when you compare that with our Big Ten competitors in our region, we've actually got a superior record. The numbers don't look like that, and our RPI is not as favorable, but when you look behind the numbers, I think it will be very favorable. We also found out that, you know, if you win the division in the Big East, you go to the NCAA. We would be the first team that wouldn't go to the Big East, wouldn't go to the Big Dance, having done that, and we don't want to be the first ones. So we've tried to control our controllables, and with the coaching staff have done a little bit of extra work. But we're just being positive, and we'll see. It's out of our control now. We've got a good, you know, we put the mechanics together, and Mike Broker, the AD, you know, has done his bit, and I've been really happy about what's gone on campus, because there's been a lot of positive feedback, and there's been a lot of positivity to what we're doing.
Which brings to my next point. You know, it was always women's soccer was at the helm, top 25. Men's soccer looming in the behind. Now both programs are up at the top. What do you assess of Marquette soccer right now at this year in 2011? What is your opinion on it?
Well, what my opinion is we're still chasing the women. What women have got is strength in depth. When you look at the caliber of the player on the bench of the women's team, I mean, they're bringing in players that are some of the best players in the country. So we're still chasing them, and they've got strength in depth. We have come so far, certainly in the last 2 years, with a style and a commitment that we've got something to feel proud of. So I'm really happy about how we're moving. We're at stage 1 or 2 of the rung on the ladder. They may be in 5 or 6, and every year they're at the top of the ladder. Every year that's our goal. So I think we've got a way to go in terms of strength and depth, but we're certainly coming along and getting that.
Now, Coach, for yourself, of course, in your career here at Marquette, it's been kind of, you know, up and down a little bit, but this season you finally kind of kicked through that door, and of course you're on the cusp here of the NCAA tournament, but you won the Big East, the conference for the first time in school history. How big is that for this program this season?
I think is a huge foundation for what can be achieved here, and like I said, it's the first one of the first rungs on a ladder, or the first 2 or 3 rungs on the ladder that we need to go up. For me, I mean, this is not being at all egotistical. I knew that given the right time, and given the right people, and given the right opportunity, we'd get it right. There was just a lot of work to do. there was a lot of work to do to get the program where it needed to be before we could even think about winning. You know, and we, the life of a student athlete encompasses a lot of things, and we had to get everything right. And we say this a lot. We had to control our controllables, and once we could control everything that was in our power, we started to be successful socially, in the classroom, all the aspects. And then on the field, ironically, was the last thing that we kind of got right.
Which brings me to my next point, is that, you know, you're doing everything on right, getting on track. I feel like this team had an identity, and yes. I feel like you, as a head coach, and the program is finally finding that identity. And before it was you know, these players coming together and competing on the field. Now I feel like it's a family. You guys are going out there and competing like you're all one.
No, I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you guys noticing that. We are. I mean, there's a thing, we use an analogy. If you try to, you know, if you're a boxer and you try to hit things with an open hand, you're going to break one of your fingers. If you close those fingers, you can do a lot of damage. And I think overall, you know, you can be if you're all on the same page, it doesn't have to be the perfect page, you're going to win games. If you get the perfect page and no one's on it, you're not going to win. And here it is more of there's a huge respect because of the work that's put in. There's a huge respect amongst the squad because of the sacrifice and the dedication, and that has flown and filtered through the program, and it's now beginning to show where it counts on the field. I mean, you guys don't know what's under the surface, what we do every day. So your mark, quite honestly, is what we show when you come up, you know, to call the game. And when you look exciting, and when we get the ball in the attacking half, we look like we're going to score, and there are people getting out of their seats. That's a testament to what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. And I'm really proud of that. I really am. I mean, you know, the last game against Louisville was a bitter disappointment because we had a lot of opportunities. But when you consider where they were in the final. Nearly everyone on their team went to the final last year of the NCAA, and they were the number 1 or 2 ranked team in the country at the beginning of the year, and we pinned them in, and we looked exciting. We looked like we were going to score more so than they did. That's a huge advancement of our program.
And I feel like one thing is the Big East is known for basketball. It's got their football and everything, but soccer has been also a big thing too. You know, no one ever said Marquette Soccer winning the American Division. No one said Marquette Soccer top of it. You always think Louisville and all those players. What do you think the conference has said about Marquette Soccer this year?
Well, I think they don't know how to take us now. I think they're a little disturbed. We were very fortunate, Callum and I, to go across to New Jersey. The Big East flew us out there, and we received some awards for the coaching staff, of whom I'm very, very proud of. And then Callum and C. Norte got some recognition. That's the first recognition we've got, I think, since we've been there. I think Callum may have been second team. They really don't know how to take us. When we consider, they said, well, this team's only kind of come 6th at best. And then we landed up at one stage, we were 6-0 and played in a tornado and lost to a near tornado, yeah, and lost to Georgetown. But to finish that league 7-2 was unheard of. And so I think they're a little frightened now that we've built something, and it's almost like we know who the names are. I think they think it's a group of no names. Well, there are names, and there's certainly beating hearts underneath the shirts. And I don't really care if they don't know everyone's name individually. They certainly know what Marquette Soccer's about, because there's a pride about Marquette Soccer.
Now, Coach, it was kind of tough this season for you because you're going to lose arguably one of the best players in Marquette Soccer history with Callum Malice. But, you know, you kind of know who you got now to back him up. Now you got a guy like C. Norte, a freshman out of Ghana, this season with 9 goals. He just completely burst onto the scene. You got a guy to my right here in Sebastian Jansson. You got a lot of kind of pieces that you're kind of piecing together here. This team could be good for quite some time. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is not just to build a team for 1 year, is to build a culture and a program that could roll through. Now, and any great teams, as they lose players that have managed to be focused and have managed to be successful, who is going to take their place? Because we want to have interchangeable parts. I mean, we've got a guy called James Rutledge that's going to come in from New Zealand actually in January, and he's not going to be Callum Malice. I don't want anyone to think that we're going to replace Malice, Alfano, and Herrera, and even Monson. What we're going to do, we're going to put new bodies in those jerseys, and we'll fine-tune what we do without those players. We can't find a Callum Malice. He's probably one of the best players in the country. I believe he's going to get a high draft choice, and he may even land up in Europe because there's a huge buzz about him. We can't replace him. What we can do is we can move on without him, and he would want that, and everyone else wants to do it. But yeah, I'm very encouraged that we're going to lose 4 players. We've got a strong base of players that know our culture, are going to really strive for the kind of quality that Callum brought.
Well, here's my question for you as well. You know, you said that we're just here, we call it, we don't really see the inside of it. You know, I feel like the first few years was a little frustrating for you as coach, you know, trying to develop that system, develop that identity. Was this year the easiest year to coach your team?
The most enjoyable. I think they got the most out of us. I mean, I didn't feel I was fighting anyone. I didn't think anyone was going to... I'm not a man of compromise, and they'll tell you that. You know, I'm also not a dictator. It's not my team, it's our team. And I think this is the first... Last year I felt that, it was our team. But this year I really felt I didn't have to convince anyone to take a leadership or take ownership. And the big thing this year was that all of our players took ownership. So even if I had tough words with people, right, Sebastian, they would understand it's not personal, it's Marquette business. You know, I've got a huge respect for everyone on our team. But if things aren't right, I've got to say, hey, they're not right, let's put them right. But when they are put right, I'm the first to say, well done. And I don't say this is the easiest because I've worked the hard. I mean, I've probably got more done this year because there's been less resistance. If you don't know, it's hard for people then to follow you, and that no one knew. I mean, no one had ever won a championship. No one had ever done it except for the coaching staff. So when we're saying things, that's a little different. You know what I mean? And now we've got a whole group that believe. Why wouldn't they believe? And we've done what the rest of the league and a lot of people thought was impossible. We've just done. I think it's harder. Normally, it's going to be harder to win a Big East championship than it is to get into the NCAA tournament and win games. This is a freak year where we didn't do very well at the beginning, and then we go 7-2 in arguably one of the hardest, if not the hardest league in the country. I mean, 16 teams, and 10 of them are going to be in the top 20 or top 48. This is like wrestling a big gorilla every year, and it just changes size and color every year, and you've got to be ready to wrestle it, you know. So this is kind of a unique year, but the resistance, there is no resistance. We're on the same page, and if we're not, all we've got to do is a little adjustment in practice, and everyone polices themselves, everyone inspires themselves, and it's our job as coaches to keep that going and get people in here that completely buy in. Recruiting's been very interesting now because the kind of guys that are coming in now, I don't care if they're ranked or rated with other schools. We've got interchangeable parts, so now we're really, I call it, instead of fishing with a net, we're fishing with a spear. And we want certain kinds of people, certain kinds of mentality that will fit in, because when they come in, they've got blueprints, and we've got a lot of blueprints.
All right, Coach, I think that's all the time we have for you at this halftime show. So thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we're going to see you in November at some point in time.
Let me ask them one. What do you think is going to happen for the second half here for the women?
Well, I think if our women start well, if you notice the breeze now is actually in our women's face. I think the ball won't roll away from them as much. I think the first 20 minutes is going to be key. If they get a goal in the first 20 minutes, I think they can break them open. If the longer it goes, the more difficult it's going to be. And we've definitely got to put the clamps on them at the back, not give them anything.
Okay.
All right, Coach Bennett, thank you very much. Thanks so much for joining us here on Marquette Radio. And once again, we hopefully will see you on Monday for the viewing party, I'm sure, at the Annex. So hopefully this is just step one and a very great history for you here at Marquette. So
I agree. Thank you, guys, and keep up the good work. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was head coach Louis Bennett of the Marquette men's soccer team, the head coach. And once again, thank you for him for joining us here at the in the booth here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Valley Fields. Now just about a minute and 5 seconds to go.